Scanning the scammers, the warning signs that you need to look out for.
This is BTS Raw Chats. BTS Raw Chats. Where real media creators chat after hours. We don't give away raw files. We give you the raw, behind-the-scenes chatter of the photo and video production world. The Raw Chat starts now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of BTS Raw Chats. We are real media creators talking about what really happens within the production industry. We want this show to help others out there learn how to deal with the day-to-day things of what really happens behind the scenes. Well, let's get started. Scanning the scammer. Now, this is a topic that is very interesting, especially with the times that we are living in now. A lot of people are quitting their jobs. We're living in the times of the Great Resignation.
I quit.
A lot of people are quitting their jobs and actually pursuing things that they actually love. And I have one special person in this room that has taken the step to go forward on that. And that is Sherry.
I have come forward to tell my story today.
Yes, you have come forward to scan the scammer. I cannot believe this. We're talking about this, and you are not the only one that has suffered this. I had a friend of mine that actually went through a similar situation, but his was a different story than yours, but yours is a little bit more interesting. Can you elaborate?
Of course it is. Of course it is, because it's me.
Oh, it only happens to you, you know?
It's so true.
Tell the audience what happened exactly to you.
Where do I even start?
First of all, where did you apply to find a new job?
Well, I was applying on LinkedIn, but I was also applying on Indeed. So I'm still not 100% sure which one that they got it from, because they do have a resume on there, because they reached out to me. I had applied, but say 2 months passed, and then they finally reached out to me wanting to proceed with the interview process. So of course I was like, okay, let's do the interview. But they gave me all of these instructions, but it's still, and mind you, I am super skeptical. I'm not super gullible.
Yeah, I know. Alarm bells set off. And
I knew it was kind of weird. Exactly. There was a couple things that just never sat well with me. But I was like, I'm a good sport. I'm going to go see this through. So I went through this whole interview process. They had me log on to a messaging service to conduct a remote type of message interview. I didn't actually speak to somebody. It was just messaging. And he asked me 20 questions, and I had to respond with essay questions. They were in depth, 20 questions, if you were in college. So I'm doing my best, and I'm writing these things, and I'm whipping them out, and they sound really good, because one thing I can do is write. I was sending all of these messages, and then I made it to the next step. According to them, they sent me an email congratulations, we want to take you through round 2.
Round 2. Fight.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay. I mean, really, I haven't done anything other than answer questions. I'm like, all right, we'll see where this goes. So I went through a second round of interview questions the same way. I was messaging with somebody, but they actually emailed me a PDF with all of these questions. And it was the same thing. It was 20 questions, but super detailed questions about, my skills, just on any other interview, those types of questions. So again, I pulled, all these awesome answers out of my ass. I wrote these really good, short, 3 to 4 sentences for each one, and did really good. So then, I don't know, what was it, maybe a week later? They were very quick to respond. It was immediate almost, which was kind of weird, because this was a big, well-known company.
Well, why don't you expose this company? Since we're scanning the scammers and we need to know exactly who these people are. Drum roll, please.
Ready? It was for the Miami Heat.
Oh my God.
I know. I was like, the Miami Heat wants to interview me, Dave.
Wow. Wow. So, okay. So you went through a second phase. Here's the creepy part. The creepy part is that they had a Zoom meeting with you, right?
No, we never spoke, and there was never any video. It was all just through chat and then through email.
Wow.
So they sent me all of these documents because the Miami Heat did have the same identical description, everything the same. So they sent me these documents, like letterheads with Miami Heat. It had address, numbers, everything on there. They went through to tell me like the whole, like it had like their policies and procedures, which probably is really theirs, but they just ripped it off to, really enforce the scam to make it seem like super legit. They had emails that had like the Miami Heat. I think it was miamiheat.careers, which if you go on their website, they have a .careers. Because I checked that out first too. I'm like, oh, well, that seems the same. It matches the website. The description matches. So I'm like, whatever. I'll just keep going through this process and see what happens. So I went through round 2. And then, I don't know, the next day I get, I think I got a phone call. And I didn't answer it because I don't answer numbers that I don't know. So the guy left a voicemail. And it was like, I'm the recruiting manager from the Miami Heat, and I wanted to congratulate you. We were looking forward to bringing you on to our creative team and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And again, it still didn't sit right with me. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, because I'm thinking like, well, why would the Miami Heat want to hire me? Like, I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. But I'm like, okay, I'm a good sport. We'll go along with this. So he goes, well, we'll email you all of the paperwork and blah, blah, blah. So the next morning, immediately, because they work quick, I got all of these documents, all this stuff. And again, they wanted me to set up through the chat to speak to, I think it was like one of the HR people. So by then, I'm like, well, why haven't I spoken to anybody yet? Or, everybody does Zoom. I'm like, it was already like fishy anyway, but now it was like really started to smell. So I went ahead and logged on because they wanted to walk me through like their company like website, like
their policies.
No, not the policy. It's it's like their own personal site.
Okay.
For like logging in and like all that stuff.
Okay.
So I went on the chat that we were chatting on the whole time, and all of a sudden the girl asked me. She goes, "Oh, I wanted to congratulate you on being hired and all this stuff." So
by the way, this is through chat.
Yeah.
You don't hear anything.
No, it's just through the chat.
Through chat.
Yeah.
Wow.
And rewind back real quick. She went through this whole thing with me, and in the documents it said that, because this mainly was going to be a remote position, that they were going to set me up a home office. So, with the home office, you need a computer and the Wi-Fi, all that stuff that goes along with it. So they said it would be provided by the company. I didn't have to pay anything. So I was like, all right, well, they're not asking me for any money. That's why I was like, well, let's see where this goes. Because usually they ask you right away. Once I logged on, because they were going to do, walk me through their site, she goes, oh, well, remember we talked about how we were going to set you up at the home office, and these were like the equipment that they wanted to send me. She said something like, it's not in stock or it's not available for some reason, so I can go ahead. She gave me specific model numbers for like an iPad Pro, brand newest model, a couple other things. Go ahead and find these models, buy it. Well, the company will reimburse you, but we're going to have you send the equipment to their IT person who lives elsewhere, who also works from home.
Wow.
And I said, there it is. I was like, there it is. And I was like, well, you know what? I said, I'm not going to buy shit. Just like that. She's like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean you're not going to buy anything? And I just like blasted them like right after that. And then totally fell off, like totally like not responsive to nothing. The email stopped working. The number that the guy initially called me from to say that I was hired, number didn't work. Like everything just fell off. So I actually contacted the Real Miami Heat HR department. And I spoke to a few people, and I sent them like all of the documents, and then because they were going to send it to like their security and IT people. It's almost, it's too good to be true, but because they didn't ask for anything up front, like basically I was just answering questions. Like I'm never buying anything.
That is
But
insane.
I kind of wanted to see like where it was going, and I said, as soon as she said that, I was like, there it is.
See, I had thought that you had met with them.
No.
The craziest part is you spent almost a week of your own time.
Like 2 weeks.
Dealing,
It was like 2
2
weeks.
weeks dealing with these people that were giving you the runaround.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, they just scammed you. A lot of fishers out there,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they do.
Well, like with anything else, like you think back about it and you
Right.
see like little red flags, which I knew, and that's why you should always trust your gut. Like I knew this going in from the first day they contacted me, but because they didn't answer like me, and because they didn't ask me for any money up front, and like they really weren't asking anything of me other than answering questions. But I know now that's how they gain your trust, and you get like so deep into it,
Yeah.
And but they had said a few things. Like now I look back on it and I'm like, probably should have like nipped it in the bud right there. The first round of interviews, the girl that I was talking to, because they start off nice. Oh, hi, Sherry. And, we're talking to you kind of like how we
And
would
this
talk.
is all via chat.
Yeah. And she said that she works remotely. She's also in Florida. So, of course, me being me, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm in Florida, too. Like, I'm in Fort Myers. She totally didn't even acknowledge that. And she went straight to asking, like, whatever the first question was. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking that was weird. I'm like, well, she didn't even acknowledge, like, oh, hey, like, that's close. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't even say, like, oh, hey, you're in Florida. Like, there was nothing. It was just very weird. And I remember it stuck out because I kind of, like, I was like, whatever.
That is, but not
But,
a
like,
lot
that
of,
was kind of like
honestly, not a lot of people have those instincts.
Right.
And, like, these are just, like, this is crazy. These are great tips to look forward to. Just off the top of your head, real quick, name 3 of the things that, like, really stuck out at you that you knew was a red flag before we go to commercial.
The one that I just mentioned, being skeptical, and obviously we are all are aware of scams. There wasn't any like email discrepancies. There wasn't anything really misspelled, because that's a lot of times like a red flag if the spelling is off. Like this corporate company should be able to write a letter. Nothing really jumped out. The only thing that bothered me right off the bat was that I never actually spoke to anybody. Like everything was just happening very fast, and everything was through email or through that messaging.
And that's wild.
That's why I kept saying, I don't know, there's something like that's not right. But I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, everything's remote now. Maybe that's how they like weed people out, or like, but I knew it. I knew it in my gut, and I was just kind of like blowing it off.
And these are coming from legit websites like Indeed
right.
and LinkedIn.
Right. And like I said, I went through everything, like checking their emails to make sure and it matched the website. And then come to find out, after I spoke to the Real Miami Heat HR department, they were like, that's not even an email that they use.
Wow.
So these people really put like a lot of work into doing this. But I mean, obviously I would never like buy anything and send it somewhere else to somebody else's house. I would never go that far.
Well, that should be the biggest red flag
know,
there.
yeah.
Like, yes, just purchase everything and then actually send it over to somebody else.
That's when the red flag comes and like slaps you in the face.
With that, let's take a quick commercial break, and we're going to talk more about this topic coming up.
Sherry Elisa Photography specializes in beautifully styled modern portrait photography, offering professional in-studio photography services to all of Southwest Florida. Push creativity to the next level. Create custom themes that will complement every personality and style. On-site professional hair and makeup is also available. Our studio is conveniently located off US 41 and Boy Scout Drive, next door to the Sam's Club Plaza. Book your spot now with SherryElisaPhotography.com.
And we are slowly scanning the scammers. So we're talking a little bit about scanning the scammers and what to look for. And Sherry, not only you have had this experience, but also a friend of mine had this experience through a different set of lenses, no pun intended. One day I'll get him on the show. With the pandemic being that is, we had him here booked for today's show, but he couldn't make it because he's afraid that he might have the vid.
Right.
Just a little snippet of his story, and he'll elaborate it later. Hopefully I could get the story out of him later. He was actually working for another company that did a lot of wedding videos, and he did one wedding video, got paid for it, but then did 3 more other wedding videos, but never got paid for it.
Oh.
And he waited months, and he's still fighting to this day.
He did 3 wedding videos?
3 wedding videos,
Oh,
and
man.
he's still fighting to this day to get back anything. And the company told him that, well, they're not paying and all this stuff, like just giving him the ring around.
Did
you know?
he did he finish these projects and like actually give-
Absolutely. He shot it.
Oh, wow.
He didn't do any of the post. He would hand the footage
Okay.
over to
Okay.
somebody else, and then they would take care of the post.
I see a lot. I came across a lot. Like they're looking for like photographers and wedding. There's a lot of wedding videographer like job postings,
Yeah. Like,
and they seem fishy. But again, like I'm not. I wasn't looking for something like that, so I didn't try that.
the
But
biggest thing is that don't get got. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, look for these major signs.
Yeah.
And contracts help all the time. Get
But
50% up front and 50% on completion. What were you saying?
I was gonna say even with the contract, that doesn't mean because look, they ripped off the Miami Heat documents.
Right.
I mean, I still have them. I saved everything. Like I have documents and policies and operating procedures and all
One day,
types of
if you
stuff.
feel comfortable, you should post it online and be like, look, watch out for these people.
Just so you guys know, it was for a video production position. So that was
A
kind of like,
a remote
you know.
video production.
Well,
right?
so for post, I would have to, because they asked if I would be able to travel to Miami if I had to for production. I'm like, yeah, sure. We're only like 2 hours away.
This is crazy.
And, the rest of it would be remote. So I was like, oh, this sounds too good to be true because
Yeah.
when it is.
And it is, like that's a. So a lot of people are quitting, and they're looking for new jobs and they're looking for new positions, but like it's so crazy out there right now that people are getting desperate, not only
Right.
for hiring people, but also for looking for that dream job that they always wanted. Because let's face it, this pandemic has really opened up a lot of eyes. Life is short, you have to take that major step, but you gotta be careful because a lot of people out there love to take advantage of people like us,
Right,
that are fun, creative, personality is great.
Right.
We're happy, go lucky. They love to be like, all right, come over here, little
I know.
boy,
I was like, I
little
love
girl.
Miami.
Exactly. And
I'd
then
move there in a heartbeat.
and it wastes 2 weeks of your time. 2 weeks that you
I think
could
it was
have.
even longer. It's
Yeah.
probably like 3 weeks.
That's crazy. And same deal with Jean. He wasted hours doing a wedding.
I know he
video
actually did all the work.
That he actually did the
Oh,
labor
God,
for it.
That's so terrible.
That's crazy. And I've noticed like more and more of these scams are happening, and you just got to look out for it. It's funny that we do have 3 recommendations, but we're going to talk about that later. But there's one article that we have in our show links about the top 10 things, Sherry, that you spotted out. Could you name at least top 5 on that list?
I'll try.
for everyone out there.
Yeah, it's the top 10 warning signs that online jobs offer you and is just a money scam.
Okay.
So let's see, the top 5 to look out for would be, this is what I said, job listings or emails that are full of errors, like misspelled words, and that's like definitely a red flag.
But you didn't have that in this
No.
one. Okay.
Actually, what I meant to say, my aunt, because she was kind of like on board, like I tell her everything. So I sent her the documents, and she was scanning everything because she's like even worse than I am. She went through everything, and she did find like one error, and I was like, I don't know. It wasn't alarming. I was like, just kind of like blew it off. But that was it, because there should not be any kind of like, I don't care what it is.
And you know what's crazy? Nowadays, there is AI, which is augmented, like the intelligence that write copy, and they don't even have to write the copy. They just be like, contract for X, Y, and Z. And
Right.
then the computer actually does a whole formal contract for you nowadays.
That's true. Another thing now that I'm reading is that jumped out to you. Remember when you asked me like maybe 3 that were red flags?
Yes.
Because we were going back and forth through email, you know how normally you have your signature? Mm-hmm. And they would just have like their name and a title. There was no number, there was no email, there was no address, there was no like logo. Like No, I think there was a logo. 'Cause they did have the Miami Heat logo on everything. But I remember thinking, like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, if you're working for the Miami Heat and you're like the recruiting manager or you're like part of the HR hiring team,
you would have a picture of yourself,
right? You would have
a name.
Yeah, you
so
have
that
a
way
name
we
and
could
extension.
research and
Right.
look into LinkedIn and
Right.
find out who these people are.
Right, which I even did. Like, I was taking their names and like looking for them on LinkedIn. Like, I was doing stuff. I wasn't
You
just
were
like,
doing
oh,
your
I hope
research.
they're hiring me.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like, and I didn't really find anything. Although those little teensy little flags were actual red flags. And although I knew it, I feel like my subliminal mind was like, well, just go along with it and see. Because the minute they ask me for something, like, oh, no, and I'm not going to fall for that.
And the last thing
Right.
that they asked you for
Right.
was purchasing
Right. Exactly.
items
That's
to
what-
send over to someone.
That's
someone
what pissed
else.
me off the most. Like, all right, now you wait. Now I'm mad. Now you wasted almost 3 weeks of my life to get to this point for you to ask me to buy all this equipment.
And the thing is that like you can't really go after these people,
Right.
like like hunt them down.
Right.
It's not even worth it.
Well-
But, like the biggest thing is like you wasted your time.
Yeah, our good friend and our only fan, Michael, are you out there? I love him. He sent them a bunch of nasty grams because he goes, give me those emails. So he sent them and he blasted them all kinds. I don't even know what he was saying. And then I had sent a couple myself. And then right away, like that next morning, I kept getting like if they were unable to send because the email wasn't active anymore.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. What would be the second?
Okay, so the second, this is me. Interviews that take place over messaging platforms. Ding, ding, ding. Which that was actually my very first one. The minute they asked me to do that, as I'm signing up, I'm thinking, this isn't right. Why am I doing this? This has got to be a scam. But like, I couldn't stop myself. Like, you just kind of do it, even though you know better.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the whole time it just never like sat well with me. But
But at the
I
time,
like to kind of be a little optimistic.
Exactly. You're just not thinking at the moment. You know what I'm saying? You just want to get that job, get that dream job, and like go forward with the steps. That hey, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and this is why shows like these are so important for people to get informed. So that way they are not getting scammed and not wasting time because time is money.
Right. So the third one they have listed is the job seems too good to be true, which it was, and you know that. But there's another one that I like too, so I'm gonna give you 4.
Yes.
Because this one applied to my situation. A sense of urgency to hire. I did a 20 essay question round 1 interview. They got back to me by the next day. We want to move you on to round 2. And I'm like, wow, that was fast. Round 2 happened, and then, some time passed, and then it's like, all right, you're hired. Just by a phone call. Like, there was no other process. There was no like, hey, let's get on a Zoom and let's meet you first.
Yeah.
It was just like...
That's why I told you at the time, when you get your first check from the Miami Heat, then you know that it's real.
I know. Womp womp. I was like, Dave, they asked me to buy an iPad.
It's so sad. I was happy for you, but at the same token, you were like, I don't know if this is real, but it's kind of cool.
I know.
And
even when I was like, well, they said that I'm hired, and I couldn't be happy. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel. Like, I guess I work for the Miami Heat now. I should have just went there. I'll start on Monday.
Yeah. Go up there in the court and be like, hey, I'm here. You're new media person.
Yeah.
Get out.
Oh my God.
Okay, so number 5.
Maybe the web address is slightly altered, which mine was. It appeared to be a normal address, but I mean, really, it was not an actual address for that company. But there's a few good ones on here. Do you want me to continue? You said 3.
No, we're gonna leave them with a cliffhanger.
All right, here's the kicker: upfront expenses are required to gain access to the opportunity. That's the biggest one.
And that's the one that you were like, nope.
Right, yeah. Negative.
There you have it, folks. Those are top 5 that we have so far. And we have more information on the show notes. And now we're going to our 3 recommendations. Sherry, take it away.
The first one is job scams that have increased due to COVID, and it's put millions of Americans out of work. So it just tells you how to avoid getting yourself into that type of situation.
Second,
The second one is the one that I was just talking about.
and we just had the top
Yeah,
five
5 out of the 10.
top 10.
Yeah,
you guys gotta read into this because it's crazy.
Right, and there's so many. I just picked 3 that kind of made sense to like my situation, but this one is, the top 10 warning signs for online job offers.
And then the third is related locally.
Yeah.
We had one scammer that affected us here, close to home.
Yeah,
Tell us about the third and last one.
So it says Cape Coral victim loses $2,000 in online job scam. So I guess this person actually purchased actual products. No, they had them buy gift cards. So the scammer asked the victim to buy a series of gift cards, and then my laptop just died. Its screen just went black. And that's it. That's all I got. All right. Yeah, it says the victim accepted a new job offer after answering. It was from a Facebook job post, which those are always shady.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right, so they answered a Facebook job posting, and it was promising a work from home opportunity, which most people are looking for, because the day we live in.
And that's exactly what happened to you.
Yeah, so the fake company offered to pay the victim for new computer equipment and software. They kept emphasizing that with me too. Like everything had to go through like their IT, and it was like all this software that I don't even remember what it was, but it's nothing I've ever heard of before. Because I remember even saying, I've never heard of that before. So for all I know, they probably made it up. Like it probably doesn't even exist. The software that they're talking about.
That is wild.
Yeah, so then it says, the fake company offered to pay the victim for new computer equipment and software. When the victim got the check for the gear, the scammer told them to deposit the money in a separate checking account. See that right there? Like I wouldn't
scam
putting anything right. And then after that, the scammer asked the victim to buy a series of gift cards. The victim bought $500 gift cards on 3 different occasions, totaling $6,000.
Oh my God.
Like, what are you thinking? Like, not to I don't know if you're listening to a person out there in Cape Coral, but like, what the
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, WTF. Question mark, exclamation points.
Exactly. So, what is the point of the show?
Don't get scammed.
And with that, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and scan those scammers because they are out there, especially now. We're not out of this pandemic just yet. Just hang on tight. But be sure, be on the lookout. We gave you the top 10. So, with that, Sherry, what did we say?
Bye.
Yes, exactly. You're right. This was BTS Raw Chats.
Until next time.
And we'll see you next time.